start with this introduction. Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Hold on, I'm trying to get back in my tablet, jeez. But I'm basically doing another reading wrap up for the month of June because I did one for May, and this is gonna be like a monthly thing because why not? So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give y'all my star ratings on the books I read this month. And I actually read 8, but I accidentally put 2 of the books I read this month in my last reading wrap up, so we're not going to talk about the 2 I put in there, but we're going to talk about the 6 what I did not talk about yet. So first book I read this month was Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney, and I rated this book 4 stars out of 5. It's basically about this girl who discovers that she has this, like, I would say incapability, like she physically cannot do something and she didn't know, and it's basically like her journey on trying to find the resources so she can combat this. And it's a romance book and it's really good and I liked it. I felt like it was very interesting because a lot of the books I read kind of have the same plot lines, and for a book with, like, it wasn't like fantasy or mystery, it was just one of those plain contemporary romance books, and I felt like it handled the topic really well because it was like it was a topic I knew about but I didn't know a lot about. So I felt like this book handled that well. So my review on Goodreads said, super educational and gave me insight, was sort of short, but I enjoyed it and will remember it. And if I'm being honest, I remember bits and pieces. I read out my source, so it was good. I really liked the love interest. He was cool. No, I remember a lot about it. It was a really good book. Next book I read this month was Killjoy by Holly Jackson, which is the, like, prequel in a Good Girls Guide to Murder series. So basically this book follows Pip Steele and before the events of all the books, and I knew that. Some people said that they read it like after, thinking it was a novella, like after the books end, but I knew that it was a prequel and I was on hold for it for a while, and it was really short but it was fun. I rated it 4 stars. I liked it because I felt like for a little short novella, it gave us a lot of information, and I really wish I read it in the right order because I read the series before I read the novella. So it gave me information I already knew because I read the series, but if I read it before, I would have been less confused reading the first book, if that makes sense. So my review on Goodreads has said, wish I read it in the right order, would have gave me so much background on some of the characters. And that's really true because they give us, like, so much information what I didn't know. Like, I remember hopping in the second book in the series and being like, who is this character? And he was in this novella, so I was like less confused, and I wish I read it in the right order, but I physically couldn't because the hold for this book was so long. So next book I read this month was The Girl from the Sea, which is a graphic novel. I read it because I was in a reading slump, and honestly it was adorable. It was a romance graphic novel and it was really cute, and I felt like, you know, graphic novels are pretty short and they're usually targeted for like middle schoolers. Not the middle schoolers, I'm gonna just throw that out there. I mean, I think some graphic novels be like YA, but isn't that YA like middle schoolers? Young adult? I guess high schoolers too, but that's besides the point. It was good. It was basically about this girl who was like trying to overcome, like, well, I mean, she wasn't really trying to overcome anything. She was really content with her life, but like everything changed when she met this one girl, and it was just a really good book. I don't want to give too much away, but it was a good book, and I rated it 4 stars out of 5. And I said adorable, but wish we could have got a time skip of the ending because it kind of ended at a place where it was like to leave for speculation. Like, they gave us a time skip, I think, but it wasn't what I wanted to see. And I guess it was because it was that short, but it was a good little graphic novel, and it helped me get out of a reading slump because I read 2 graphic novels in one night to help me get out of a reading slump. And the second one I read that night was The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich, which I was actually on hold for a little bit, and it really surprised me. I give this one 5 stars out of 5. And it was just really adorable. It was something about this little graphic novel. It was just like a breath of fresh air. And it made me want to continue reading, like get out of my reading slump and really read new books. So my review on Goodreads said, I read it in 30 minutes and wow, this was adorable. Like what? And the representation. was just so good. It was so good, and it caught me off guard with the representation, because usually I know, like, I see the cover and I'd be like, oh, but then nah, this one was actually surprising, and this one was good. This one was really good. I recommend y'all read that one for sure. Oh, okay, this is the longest book I read this month. So Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score, man, I rated it 5 stars out of 5. It was like 500 and something pages, and I own the physical copy of the book. It's somewhere on my book thing. It was a really good book though. Like, I rated 5 stars because I really enjoyed reading it, and for it to be such a long book, I feel like it didn't drag for me. Some people on Goodreads said that it was kind of slow, but that wasn't how it was for me. I think love interest, yeah, his name was Jake, and he was really cool. It was a really good book. I really liked the main character. Her name is Marley, and she was really funny. It was a lot of points in this book where I was just laughing out loud, and I'm like, but it took me like 5 days to read it, and it was really good. And my review on Goodreads said, adorable, I have no complaints, Jake is the standard, and this book was so fun and funny. I kind of missed the book. Yeah, but it was a really good book, and I think that's why I didn't read as many books as I usually read in 1 month, because that book was kind of long, but it was worth it. Next book I read this month was Coraline, which is obviously based off of the movie. I mean, no, the books is before the movie. The movie is based off the books, but I saw the movie first. So I read the books because I heard people talking on Instagram about how the books were kind of scary. I wanted to see if they really were. So I rated the books a 4 star out of 5, and it was pretty good. Was it scary? I think when you read something when you're like way younger, something where you think it's supposed to be like something else, and it ends up being like a little bit darker, you consider it scary. Because it was not scary to me. It could be because I watch horror actively, but it was a little unsettling, but it wasn't scary to me. I think I like the movie a little bit more, especially because YB's in there, and I love YB. But the book was good, and I really was just kind of disappointed that YB wasn't in there. So my review on Goodreads said, good, just didn't know YB wasn't in there, shaking my head. I'm telling you, I loved YB. I went into the book thinking, oh my gosh, I'm about to go like read about YB, and he wasn't in there. Okay, last book I read this month was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is obviously based off of The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm pretty sure it came out after, but it's like a retelling, I guess. Not really a retelling because it's giving you new information, but it's about Sally, which is Jack Skellington's like girlfriend in the movie. That was a good book. I rated it 3 stars, but if I could give it like a point star, I'd give it 3.5 because it was good. And honestly, I love The Nightmare Before Christmas, but I don't watch it like that, if that makes sense. Like, I just like the soundtrack a lot, but I was kind of worried that would be boring because I don't really care for Sally's character in the movie, but it wasn't even that boring. And honestly, her story was interesting in this book, and I wanted a little bit more of, because she had a lot of inner conflict, and I feel like by the end of the book it wasn't really resolved. It was just kind of like pieced together. Like, I don't know, I feel like this book could have did a little more, but I feel like it handled being a retelling in a better way than I've seen in another book, because I read this book about Eric from The Little Mermaid, her love interest, and it was a retelling slash like a side story. I guess that's a better word for it. But basically, it kind of gave me the information I already knew from The Little Mermaid, and they tried to build off of it, but it wasn't interesting, if that makes sense. But I feel like this book was more interesting than that, and it was still like kind of short. It was like 200 pages, I think, something like that. But it was a really good book, but I don't think I recommend y'all. No, I think y'all should check it out. I just don't think it's as good as some of the other books I read this month. So I said my rating on Goodreads was 3.5 stars, nice retelling, and handled pretty well. Not gonna lie, it was short but interesting. So yeah, I read it in like 2 days because it was that short, and it was good, but it just wasn't great. And I feel like it had potential to be great. And I see a lot of people complaining about how it didn't feel like The Nightmare Before Christmas, like it didn't feel like the same world. And I kind of agree with that. It felt very different, but then at the same time, I think that's what made it kind of good. But then if you're making a side story, I think it should kind of go off the original a little bit more. So I don't know, but that's just how I feel about it. So that's all the books I've read this month. I think it was a pretty good reading month because I actually got a lot of 4-star reads and 2 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. Yep, and that's pretty good for me. Like, I don't know, I haven't enjoyed books as much as I did this month. So I'm gonna try and continue reading more summer books because I ain't even gonna lie, why am I kind of reading fall books in summer? But it's because I miss fall. Fall's my favorite time of the year. Yeah, but yeah, that's my reading wrap up for June, and I'm hoping July will get more summer books, and I'm really hoping I get to read my physical TBR. I think I might make a video on my physical TBR because I have quite a bit of books I want to read what I own because I usually read on my Sora app. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you guys. It really means a lot to me when y'all watch my videos all the way through. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I really just have a great day or a great night, and I really appreciate you all and love you all, and that's all for today. Goodbye.